you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. I don't
Okay.
think there was any stopping that one. It was automated.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. This is our third webinar. I think third, might be fourth of the year. Um, Ben Heinzelmann, our CEO and fearless leader. I'm Scott Hamilton, the VP of Product and doer of a lot of things that Ben doesn't do. Um, yeah, welcome. Hope everybody is ready to see some new stuff. We haven't done one of these in about I think it was early July, so it's been about 3 months. We've been heads down, really grinding through a lot of customer problems, shipping a lot of things that people are interested in and asking for, and we also know just miss that we're missing in our application. So, got a lot to show today. We will go down to the wire because we have so much stuff we've done since early July. So,
No
yeah.
doubt. Yeah, I appreciate everybody hopping on. I know there's a lot of new faces. I'm going to try to do my best to just do like a really quick demo. I know a lot of you have already seen it, but for those of you that haven't, you can at least get your eyes on it. And then we also do want to cover, for at least half of this call, just cover all the updates that Scott and his team have made. I think we've been pretty clear since the beginning when we started building this. We've been pretty intentional about reaching out to a majority of you guys over the last couple of years, just letting you know what we're building, getting open and honest feedback. And, our viewpoint on this is, we've got enough industry expertise to get this thing to, 70% of where it needs to go. But ultimately, we rely on all you guys to give us feedback. And a lot of these features that we've, Scott and his team have pushed out over the last few weeks has been a result of that direct feedback. So we really appreciate that. I did want to real quick, we'll kind of jump in and cover some of the updates. I am going to, like I said, give a quick demo. We'll cover the updates. I'll also give you guys kind of a teaser on the tax roll and appraisal data and the Courthouse initiative, which we're really excited about. We've got several dedicated resources that are, essentially spending 100% of their time on that. So with all that to say, Scott, also as I'm sharing the screen, if you could kind of give, I know that the first webinar that we had, some people had issues with the screen and whatnot. So you might just give them some direction there.
Yeah. So depending on this is super configurable. We use Livestorm. So if our faces are taking up too much space on the right hand side where you are, there should be a slider bar. You can pretty much remove us from the screen. You can also get rid of the questions in the chat, so you can minimize stuff and make what we're showing, what Ben is showing, the primary focus here.
Yeah, so I think just going back to square one here, for those of you that haven't seen this, the goal has always been to be borderline obnoxiously transparent about the pricing. And I'm going to show you guys sort of how to subscribe towards the end and whatnot, but it is a pure like self-serve product-led growth model. So all of you guys can go in, you can literally click on a basin or even a county and subscribe. You can subscribe monthly or annually. So there's no long-term commitments. If you're sub 10 seats, again, that's something that we've been trying to solve for a while. Is we wanted to be very open and honest about what we're charging, and so far feedback's been excellent on that front. So some of the updates we've made, I think we showed you guys in the last demo, we have poured a ton of resources into digitizing all the directional surveys. So we have essentially completed that project nationwide, leveraging AI, which I can talk to you guys about in detail later. We then purchased Newtek's tops and Z maps. So we kind of knew, early on, once we got off the ground, that we weren't going to have all the bells and whistles that the enterprise customers wanted, especially compared to, some of the incumbent products. That being said, we were dead set on solving that issue and actually landing these wells programmatically. So using the Newtek tops and Z maps, we have landed these directional surveys at the interval level. So as you go into the map here, and this is, I'll just select a random well here. So we are actually pulling in what we call our confirmed interval. You guys will see this across the board on just about every unconventional well in the lower 48. I know Scott wanted me to cover specifically the basins that this is live in right now. So we are in the middle of the Bakken at this point in time, or the Williston. And then we're moving to Marcellus. We have every other unconventional play right now. Is that correct, Scott?
Yeah. So Uinta all the way through the DJ, Powder River, down to Anadarko and everything in Texas and
Got it.
Louisiana.
So as you select a well, just like I did there, it's going to highlight it on the map, pulls it into the well table. This is a really high level well card, right? I haven't applied a filter or anything. You have just the basic fields that most people care about, operator well API, you've got the reservoir, kind of the macro reservoir. You've got the what we call our confirmed interval with a confirmed interval percentage in there, permit spud completion. We have our allocated production data in here as well. Similar to other providers, I mean, we're leveraging the well test data. So we piped in hundreds of thousands of well tests in Texas and Louisiana, and we're ratioing off the lease or unit level production using the well test data. We have now also incorporated the well test data into the well card, which is all downloadable as well. And I believe, Scott, we're also working on that for mass downloads as well, correct?
Correct. It was done on dev yesterday. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So you can toggle between well level, lease level production. And just as a recap, on every single well nationwide, I think outside of North Dakota, there is a state link that pulls up that well directly on the state website. So if you need to pull a copy of the permit or the plat or any other filings that are located at the state, this will take you directly there. And then we've got the default fields in the wellheader table below. So as you start to scroll over, you'll see all the other fields: measured depth, TVD, lateral length, permit spud completion. We've now added in confirmed interval. And the key here is those are just the default fields for those of you guys who, I mean, obviously landmen, geologists, engineers, all want to see something different. So if you click the choose columns button, this shows every single column that is in our wellheader database. And with that said, we've added a ton of fields over the last couple months. Scott, I do think this is kind of more your lane. If you want to cover, we've added a ton of completion data, water production, primary, secondary suppliers. Why don't you kind of cover some of that for the
Yes. So a lot of the stuff we've added, right? So we continue to add filters, we continue to add features, but we're also adding data and enhancing the full data set. A couple things we added a few months back were around proppant, mesh size, fluid systems, so slick water versus linear gel, if we're still running that, primary supplier and secondary supplier for the frac suppliers, as well as we started calculating the gross perf interval, and we give the perf top and perf bottom based off of a lot of feedback. People were just wanting the actual perf tops and perf bottoms to do their own math. Outside of that, we have worked on, and Ben will touch on, our full water, all of our water data. So we have full water everywhere. We do some high level metrics that we auto calculate every night for oil and gas around first 3 months oil, gas, and 6-to-1 BOE. We just added water to all that. So we get first 3 months water, first 6 months water, first 12 months water, peak water volumes, cume water, all that stuff, right? So we added all of that into our machine that runs every night, updates every night. So that's kind of all the water metrics that got added into as well. We also went and kind of parsed out all the lease names and lease IDs, a couple things that's obviously big in Texas and Louisiana specifically around the lease names and lease IDs. So those are piped in here too.
Yeah, absolutely. And any of these fields that you want to add, by the way, so if you're a landman, you want to add legal descriptions, section, block, township, range, whatever, you can search those columns up here at the top just to make it a little bit easier. Once you locate the field you want to add, you just checkbox it, and it will add it as a column into the wellheader table below. And that is a custom view for that user. So once you actually have your view set up, you can actually rearrange the columns pretty easily, however you want to put in whatever order you would like. And this is obviously the most basic use case ever, right? I have not applied a filter. I have not done anything outside of just zoom into the map. So just to zoom out here real quick I'll show you some of the updates we've made to coloring by. What's great about, the map box enhancement that we pushed up a few months ago is, I mean, you guys can see how performant this is. I can load almost the entire Delaware Basin here pretty quickly. You can then color the wells now. So originally we just had color by for operator and reservoir, which is again kind of the macro reservoir. We've now added in the ability to color all the wells by the actual well status. So the actual sticks will be colored as well. We've added in confirmed interval and vintage. So anytime that you are applying the color by, you'll just select, confirmed interval, and then you just click the little paint icon here and it will show the color scheme. what's really key about this too is, again, feedback we got was a lot of our customers wanted the ability to customize the maps, for presentations or whatever. So as you're into the map here, we can appreciate that the sort of automated color scheme that's chosen might not always be the best to actually call out differences in benches. So on any of these, the color schemes here, if you select the color, you can now customize the color scheme and apply that. And you can also, again, if you're trying to just make this really simple for a presentation, like I mentioned on the last webinar, dark mode is sexy and all that stuff, not the best for printing or putting on slideshows. So just go to your settings and toggle that over to light mode like this. And that makes it pretty easy to see. And then you can go up to just select print up at the top. You can select a JPEG or a PDF, call that whatever you want. It makes it pretty easy to get everything out. One of the things I also wanted to cover here is, and I've covered this on the last few webinars, but I do think this is a really powerful feature in energy domain, especially for the groups on this call that don't have access to GIS teams, or they just don't want to deal with it, where you're sending legal descriptions to a GIS pro, waiting on them to send a shapefile back. Most of the country, legals are pretty straightforward unless you're in South or East Texas for the most part. This tool here, the Polygon tool, gives all of our customers the ability to draw whatever shapefiles they want and build them directly on the map. So let's just take, this track, for example. I've got several new permits that are filed. I'm going to start building out the first section here, and I'll double click to finish the first polygon. And it does a couple things. There are other programs that will just select the wells if you grab the surface location or the bottom hole. This actually grabs anything that intersects. So you can see it selected the wells both on the map and in the table here. So as I scroll over, you'll see those wells selected. I can drag and drop this up and down if you want, just to create some more real estate for yourself. You can maximize it. But the biggest differentiator here is I can either save that as an area of interest, or I can actually keep drawing. So as you're trying to build, either you're mapping your current existing ownership, or there's a prospect area you're interested in, you can continue to build as large of a shapefile as you would like, as long as that area doesn't exceed 10,000 square miles, which is pretty challenging to do. And then once you've built that out, you'll just save that as an area of interest, call that whatever you want. This is prospect 1. You'll put a buffer around that of 0 to 5 miles. And then now you can also custom color code this, where you can do a fill or no fill option. And this actually generates a shapefile on the fly and stores that in your folder over here. So again, for those groups that either don't have access to GIS teams, or you don't want to wait on it, you can just build one out. It stores a shapefile in your files over here, which then you can download and use in any other application that accepts shapefiles. And so going back to the map here, now that we've added in confirmed interval, this just makes the type curve tool and the analytics tool that much more powerful, right? Because now you can actually build interval level type curves, which has always been the goal. So if I go down to confirmed interval in the filter, let's just, for simplicity, I'll look at, Wolfcamp A wells, and I only want to look at Wolfcamp A wells spud, let's do October of 21 to let's do 23, just because most of the recently spud wells will be either ducked or won't have production yet. So now here's all the Wolfcamp A wells that were spud in that date range. So you can import those wells via the filter on the left side, or you can just make a selection on the map. So in this case, like, I'm just going to select a group of wells here. It will select those wells on the map and in the table. If I select analytics, this pulls in all the production data for every single well that intersects that shape. Now, again, the difference is now that we've added in the water production, you're also going to have the water added as a stream below that. So to build a really quick type curve, you guys can see you've got your IPs coming on at different date ranges here. That's because right now I'm on date time. If I select producing time, this will set them all back to time 0. And then I can do a quick aggregation. So let's say I wanted to look at an average production plot, P10, P50, or P90. I can also normalize per 1,000 lateral foot over here if I would like. In this case, I'll just select average, click run type curve, auto fit. So it'll auto fit for you. This is kind of your dummy button. So here's the results. So it spits out over on the bottom right. Here's your average EUR. There's the B factor used, the IP, the initial monthly decline. You can change any of these inputs as you see fit. If you want to change the well life or the initial decline month, forecast type, whatever, you can do that. You can also toggle this over to, right now I'm on Cartesian. I can toggle this over to logarithmic as well. These are all exportable. So where we're taking this, and I mentioned this in previous calls, but where we are taking this is this will actually be a full project economics tool. So for those of you that like to screen deals really quickly, whether you're making a selection on the map or you've actually imported a list of wells, which I'll showcase here in a bit, you can effectively just import either a list of well names, so you actually don't need the API numbers, or all the API numbers. You can go ahead and put in whatever price deck you want, OpEx, whatever, and it'll actually build out the cash flow model for you directly in the application. I want to be pretty clear that with that, we're not trying to replace any of the engineering platforms. This is simply intended to be kind of a quick smell test, like a plus or minus 10% answer. And so I did want to kind of showcase real quick the filtering mechanisms here. So you can upload shapefiles in here. So if you guys already have shapefiles built out, we've got a lot of logic built in there that actually will fix polygons if there's broken polygons, missing CRS, like all kinds of different stuff. You can also upload a well list without API numbers. And this is something I did want to highlight. We have users that subscribe almost exclusively for this feature. So if you're on the minerals or the non-op side whatsoever, I think you guys can commiserate with the fact that it can be a gigantic pain in the rear to locate API numbers. So whether you're initially screening a deal or you get put in pay on a bunch of new wells, or you own assets all over the country, a lot of times the well names on the check stubs or the jibs or whatever will not match what's actually reported to the state. So just taking a quick example here, if I select upload well list, there is a sample template in here that I can utilize. It's literally a CSV that is well name, county, state, and then API number. So I marketed a deal a few months ago where the client was in pay on 353 PDP wells. He didn't have many of the API numbers. So just to test the feature, I actually removed all of the API numbers and uploaded the file. And I'll show you guys what this looks like. So very fast, it pulls open a modal. So these first three columns, well name, county, and state, are the only three columns that I actually imported. It has now matched all of those API numbers with a probability of a match. So it's matched 338 of the 353. So again, going back, just stepping back for a second, deal screening, you get a really messy LOS, or you get just messy, check stubs or well list, whatever. You throw the well list in here, it locates all the APIs for you, populate them into the filter, apply the filter. It'll now geospatially locate those wells, generate the heat map, and it's got a list of all the wells in here as well, which at that point now I can go in and download. So this is one of the upgrades that I did want to cover. As we've kind of gone up market, and we're tackling this enterprise level, working with larger operators, mid-size operators, large mineral shops. The UI is all great. It really comes down to how can you get the data out, which we will also cover here in a bit on our DataStream Direct product. One of those is, how can we get data into our engineering solutions? So, obviously the big ones on the market are going to be ComboCurve, PHDwin, and Aries. Those are kind of the main three. We built a custom PHDwin file, which is a .edd PhD file, right, Scott, that is compatible with V3. If you could talk about that real quick.
Yeah, the .edd PhD. We worked with the PHDwin group, Jonathan in particular. I worked with him for a couple months to generate a file extension that is going to come directly out of our software. In Ben's example right here is 338 wells in the table. PHDwin export. You're basically going to get all of the headers and all of the production all mapped perfectly to the PHDwin import file. So you get that .edd PhD file, you take that file, you put it into your PHDwin V3 product, and it auto maps everything. So it brings over your wells, it brings over your production, it brings over everything. Seamless integration. So far the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive for all of the PHDwin customers that are using this in their V3 world. We are still talking to them about doing this for the V2. They're not really supporting any new additions to V2 right now, so we're trying to work through that. But V3 fully supported, so if you're a PHDwin customer, you've got an export type.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing you can do also is once you've selected a group of wells, again, whether it's spatially or you've actually imported them via the filter, you can export all of the well header data into a CSV. You can actually customize which columns you're exporting. You can export all columns if you would like. You can also export all of the historical production. So this is another thing, big differentiator. You can export production for as many wells as you would like. We have a separate Celery instance that runs that will send you a link to a download. It's an API-based download that will have all the streams, production for all the streams in there. Which is, I believe, Scott, if you want to talk about just integration as well into, a ComboCurve or an Aries and how that might work.
Yeah. So those softwares are super flexible. We export these massive CSV files for as many wells that you're interested in for production or header. Something like ComboCurve, I'm very familiar with it. You can you can map the headers, you can bring the production and place a primary key on the API numbers and bring all those in. Stuff like ComboCurve. Same flexibility happens with Aries. We are talking with Aries about building out our own file extension with them. It's a longer lead time than it is with a smaller team like the PHDwin group, but both of those softwares are absolutely compatible with our flat CSV files. It just takes a little bit of massaging. They do also support saving the mappings. So if you bring in our file and you map all your data exactly where you want, you obviously have the option to save that, to revisit that later if you bring those same files in, that same file structure in. So yeah, all of it's supported. It take a little bit different than say a DRI file that a lot of people are accustomed to, but super supported with our flat CSVs.
Awesome. Really quickly as well, I talked about, building shapefiles and areas of interest, that type of deal. All of those alerts, you will get a daily email notification when you build those alerts. Anytime there's a new rig, a new permit, spud, a new active well. One of the updates we're making right now. So all the rig data you guys saw on the map, we are one of the only applications that is tracking rig locations daily. That's done through a combination of satellite imagery, and then we get a big percentage of them directly from the drilling contractors. We are, though, monitoring every single pad site nationwide via satellite every day. So we have a team overseas that goes through thousands of images a night. They're actually tagging in the database when the pad site is cleared, when the rig is on location, and when the frac crew is there. So as part of the new alerts that we're implementing, you're also going to get alerts when a pad site or for pad site construction and frac crews. And I'll get into the Courthouse stuff here in a bit. We're also going to be integrating alerts on the Courthouse side. So you'll get an email for those. Those also funnel in directly to the application here. Of course, it logged me out. Give me 1 second. So the alerts go in directly to the UI. So you'll see a new permit, active wells, which are completions. You got DUCs, permits. So it's pretty much as simple as just selecting it on the map. It pans right to it, zooms to it. It's pretty fast. And then you've got your well card pop out, all that good stuff. You can actually move some of those alerts into, once you click them, it goes into viewed. You can favorite specific alerts. So if you got a new duck alert as a mineral owner or a mineral buyer, you might want to actually tag that to make sure you end up getting a division order, that type of thing. So you've got all the functionality in order to do that. Obviously, there's a lot I can cover. I'm also talk about how you guys, I believe, after the webinar, you guys will get a link to the recording of this. And there's also a link if you guys want a more specific demo from somebody in our team. There's a link to schedule a demo just to walk through some of potentially, y'all's specific workflows. I did want to cover, though, what we are building now. We are, I've been in this technology space now for 10 years and worked with other products in the past. I mean, we are releasing features at a rate that, that I have never seen. And I do want to cover, that this roadmap specifically is not a multi-year roadmap. Scott, why don't you talk real quick about DataStream Direct and how close we are there and potentially well spacing, and I'll cover some of the other stuff.
Yeah, DataStream Direct specifically, we've been working on this for a few months now, right? So Big undertaking. We're trying to avoid building a big, robust, traditional REST API that kind of hasn't changed since 1999. So we integrated a JDBC driver that you're going to go into the app and you're going to download. That JDBC driver is going to talk to our applications backend to provision the data you have access to. If you're a Permian Basin subscriber, you're going to be provisioned to get Permian Basin data. That's basically how it works. Once you get that, you're basically going to have free hands to write SQL queries and get the data you want. You're going to get access to our latest data. We're going to update our flat files that you're going to be querying against every night. So you're not going to have stale data. You're going to be able to pull that data down into your repos, do what you want to do with it. But that's what DataStream Direct is. A lot of people are going to be accessing it via Python, via potentially Spotfire, in their developer mode. So yeah, our goal is to give you the most flexible way to access our data that doesn't require you to go to our UI. We know a lot of people just want to get our data, put it into their systems, and do their workflows. So that's our goal with DataStream Direct. It's very close. We were hardening it as of last week. I haven't touched it quite this week because of this webinar I'm preparing here, but we'll be back on it tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if this is out before the end of October. So I think we're a couple weeks away at most. Touching on well spacing, this is a hot topic. Everybody's looking for white space in the industry. Where's a bounded well? Was it an unbounded well? Is it bounded to the right? Is it bounded to the left? With our directional surveys, 3D surveys digitized, those wells landing in confirmed intervals, right? So we know exactly what interval those wells are in. We basically walk down the wellbore into 500-foot chunks, and we're walking out 1,000 foot away from the wellbore on each direction, 1,000 foot to the right, 1,000 foot to the left, and searching for the nearest well. So that's going to allow us to figure out what the nearest spacing is to the well to the right in the Wolfcamp A and the Wolfcamp B and the Wolfcamp C's. How and what that looks like to find kind of that available inventory that people are really interested in this industry, right? So, and what we're trying to solve for is a lot of stuff drilled up, but where can we find more space to lay a few more wells? That's what we're trying to get to here. And first we'll be identifying the wells to the right of the control well, the wells to the left of the control well, and then saying if it's bounded based off of some metric, right? We're still identifying what those metrics are. But if we can identify it, if we can say how far it is in a straight line distance, how far vertically displaced, how far horizontally displaced, then we can sit here and make some decisions if it's bounded or not.
I appreciate that. Also, I did want to cover, I've teased this a little bit on social media. We've got a lot of feedback from the mineral mineral non-op shops. They really like to see the Texas appraisal data, the tax roll data in Texas. Happy to report that we are pretty much there. It's been integrated into the UI in our dev environment. That should be released to the public in the next couple of weeks, I'd say, Scott,
Yep.
hopefully.
Yep.
By the way, we are not charging anything extra for that. I know that there are other platforms that will do that and sort of tack that on as a feature. Everything. So whenever you guys subscribe to the product, it comes with everything that we have. We don't separate anything, feature-wise. That is all based on whatever geographic area that you're subscribed to. That will include the appraisal data in Texas for those who are subscribed to any area in Texas. So when you select a well on the map, right now there's an attributes tab, there's an ownership tab. It has all the owners on there with their interest types and decimal interests and whatnot. You can export those well by well. The next feature of that will be actually including it into the filtering. You'll be able to search by owner. You'll be able to export some of that to some extent, I believe, Scott, if you're a yearly user. We've sort of been going back and forth on that.
Yep.
We will also have the option to, for any of you guys that want to actually bulk purchase the entire state, we'll have that option as well. So feel free to email me directly if there is interest there. The last thing I'll leave you with before I kind of show you guys how the subscription process works. So we made a ton of progress on Courthouse. We now have about 180 counties in Texas. Fortunately, a lot of these counties have digitized further and further back over the last decade or so. So most, a lot of the high priority counties we will have back to sovereignty. I've also had conversations with a handful of larger operators about potentially bulk purchasing our data there. If there is interest, please reach out. And that, just to be clear, that is not just the images. That is also the data behind all of the images, including all the legals, few clauses, continuous drilling obligations, all that good stuff. I'm happy to discuss more specifics on how we're processing all the records to you guys in a one-on-one demo. That's just kind of a quick teaser. The goal is to have some type of MVP product out in Q1. All of the leases and whatnot will geospatially tied to the map. So we're really, really excited about that. I did really quickly, for those of you who have not seen the subscription process, I did want to cover that really quickly. So for all of you guys who are on the webinar today, if you're not already subscribed, we are essentially, we've created a promo code for 50% off for the first month. So again, if you're not subscribed and you just want to kind of check it out, you want to get into a basin, play with it, you can do that. It's very, very simple. You'll get, I think you're redirected immediately to the create account page. But this is essentially exactly what you would see once you create a login. You don't have to contact us to do this. It goes directly to a map like this, where essentially you just hover over the basin that you're interested in.
Hold on, Ben. You're not sharing right now. You dropped.
Oh, sorry. Give me one sec. There we go. So it sends you to this subscription page here. So it's pretty much as simple as just hovering over the basin. You could get the entire Permian for $500 a month. So with that 50% off promo code for $250, you can get access to all of our data for a month just to play around with it. You're not locked into anything long-term. Again, it's the default is monthly up here. So again, if you guys have questions on that, oh, by the way, also you can toggle it over even down to the county level. So again, very straightforward. You've got all the metrics on there, all the data that we have. So lots of ground to cover in a very short demo. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Scott, is there anything that I did not cover that I'm missing?
I think we're pretty good. There was one question. Are you grabbing permits in Texas before they are approved? You want to answer that one?
Yes, we actually are. So we've got a separate scraping process that pulls in the permits when they're actually in submitted status in Texas, and we're actually mapping those out. So we show those as pre-permits in Texas. So those will all be on the map and available for download.
Yep. A few other questions came through that I was able to, that I just kind of fielded in the Q&A section about round AOIs. I was able to handle that one. Got a good question around how we're confident in landing wells in places like the Delaware and the Williston and the Midland when there's 5+ zones. I kind of explained, we have these layers from NewTek. Picking on the Permian Basin specifically, there's more than 2,000 type wells that NewTek has picked in the Permian to give us those controls, those control points, so we can actually land in the right zone with high confidence, right? And then I had a question around: are we also monitoring rigs and just new drills and fracs? So yeah, right now the app is just giving alerts for rigs. But yes, as Ben mentioned earlier, pad clearings and frac crews is in the pipe right now, so that's coming soon.
Perfect. With any other questions that we needed to address in here?
I think that's all I got right now.
I did see a question around OCC. Yeah. So yeah, that is on the roadmap, looking at sometime next year. So we'll be pulling in all of the multi-units, the location exceptions, pulling applications, pulling orders, all that good stuff.
And there was one more just now, is the lateral length and completed lateral length, the completed lateral length. So we have lateral length. Our lateral length is one of two options. So if we have a 3D survey, the 80-degree kickoff point to the toe is a calculated lateral length. If that 3D survey does not exist, then it is a point-to-point, surface to bottom hole. So that's our two options, basically conditional logic there. And then, but we do support a totally other metric for a gross perf interval. So that's actually the interval of the top perf to the bottom perf.
And we also have the lateral length source as a field as well, so you can see exactly how we're calculating that.
Correct.
Awesome. We look forward to y'all's feedback. Like I said, if y'all want to try it for a month, you'll get a promo code, and this follow-up email will direct you directly to create a login. Look forward to getting everybody's feedback. The last thing I'll leave y'all with, sorry, real quick, we have guided wizards built into the UI as well. So if you click the resource center up here at the top, it shows you how to use all the features. We also have a chat bot built in here as well. This does not go overseas. This goes to my team in Fort Worth. So if you have any questions, want to add in screenshots, whatever, you can do that. Our average response time is typically 4 minutes.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys again very much for your support, y'all's feedback. You know, every time we get a note from y'all on you know, how pleased everybody is with progress, it means a lot. I can tell you this team is working extremely hard. A lot of late nights, a lot of sleepless nights, but making a ton of progress, and very thankful for everybody's support. And I look forward to talking soon.
Thanks, everybody.